You think rotten fish is garbage. A Roman would pay a fortune for it. For almost 2,000 years, our best food tricks look completely disgusting. But every gross idea solved one deadly problem. Food rots, and rotting kills. Picture the year 50, somewhere in Rome. No fridge, no freezer, nothing cold. You catch 10 fish today. By tomorrow night, half of them are slimy. Eat the bad ones, and you might be dead within a single week. So the Romans did something strange. They let the fish rot on purpose. They chopped whole fish, guts and all, and packed them in heavy salt. Then they left the pots out under the hot sun for many months. The fish broke down into a brown liquid. They called this sauce garum. Garum smelled so bad that factories were banned from inside the city. And yet Romans poured it on almost everything: eggs, meat, even sweet fruit. Why love a sauce made from rotting guts? Because it tasted of meat. That deep, savory flavor we now call umami was packed inside every drop. Writers like Pliny the Elder said garum could even heal sick people. He claimed it cured dysentery, a deadly gut illness, and even dog bites. None of that was true, but people believed it for hundreds of years. The sauce traveled the whole empire, from Spain to North Africa to Britain. Archaeologists found garum factories that employed more than 50 workers each. In 2025, scientists pulled real fish DNA from an ancient vat. The bones were 1,800 years old, yet the genetic code survived. The test proved the sauce was mostly made from simple little sardines. So Rome's most expensive flavor came from the cheapest fish in the sea. Rome fell, garum vanished, and the rotten genius was almost lost forever. But the core problem stayed. Without cold, every culture had to fight rot. The oldest weapon was simple: take away the water and bacteria cannot grow. Drying meat in the sun goes back tens of thousands of years. One explorer in South America lived on dried meat alone for 3 years. The second weapon was salt, and it changed the shape of whole empires. Salt pulls water straight out of meat, leaving bacteria with nothing to eat. Medieval cooks buried pork and herring in salt to survive long, cold winters. Salt was so valuable that fine grades sat only on rich people's tables. The third weapon was sweet. People stored fruit inside jars filled with honey. Honey holds so much sugar that bacteria dry up and die inside it. The fourth weapon was smoke, drifting slowly over hanging meat and fish. Cold smoking stayed below body temperature and dried food across many weeks. These 4 tricks, drying, salting, sweetening, and smoking, fed Europe for centuries. But people still did not know why any of it actually worked. They thought rot came from bad air, cold, and wet, not tiny germs. Germs, the microscopic life that spoils food, stayed invisible for most of history. So every method was found by accident, then copied because it kept working. Trial and error built a food science nobody could yet explain. Now travel north, to the cold islands the Vikings called home. Around them swam the Greenland shark, a huge, slow creature full of poison. Eat its fresh meat and the toxins hit you like being badly drunk. The poison can leave you sick, shaking, and in real danger of dying. So how do you eat a shark that is trying to kill you? You rot the danger right out of it. The Vikings buried the shark. They pressed it under sandy gravel and stones for 6 weeks or more. Pressing forced the poison fluids out while the meat slowly broke apart. Then they dug it up and hung the strips to dry for months. The result is hakarl, a fermented shark still eaten in Iceland today. People say the smell alone can make first-time eaters run away. Yet this disgusting method turned a poisoned fish into safe winter food. Far away, another trick was hiding inside something you eat all the time. Scientists found a clay pot full of tiny holes from 5,000 years back. For years, nobody knew what those strange little holes were really for. Then a chemical test found old milk fat soaked deep into the clay. The holes drained liquid from milk, leaving soft, solid curds behind. That makes it one of the oldest cheese-making tools ever discovered. Cheese mattered for a strange reason. Most early humans could not digest milk. Turning milk into cheese removes most of the sugar that upset their stomachs. So cheese let people get nutrition from animals without getting sick from milk. These cultures were solving biology problems thousands of years before biology existed. Even ordinary vegetables hid clever tricks. Think about the color of a carrot. You picture orange. But wild carrots were never orange for most of history. Early carrots grew white, pale yellow, and deep purple instead. Farmers in Central Asia began growing them around the year 900. The orange carrot came later as a sweeter mutation that people loved. Farmers kept replanting the sweet orange ones until orange became normal. The carrot in your kitchen is a long, slow human invention. Tomatoes had an even rougher start in the courts of Europe. For hundreds of years, many Europeans thought the tomato was simply poison. The plant looks like deadly nightshade, a truly poisonous relative of the tomato. Rich diners ate from pewter plates that contained a lot of lead. Acid from tomatoes pulled that lead out, and the lead made people sick. So the tomato got blamed for poisoning that the plate had really caused. Once cheaper plates arrived, the tomato slowly cleared its frightening reputation. In 1893, a court even ruled whether tomatoes count as vegetables. By then, food fights had moved from the kitchen into the laboratory. Cities were growing fast, and people no longer knew who made their food. That gap between farm and table opened the door to a dangerous trick. Sellers learned they could fake food to earn more money from less. This trick had a name. People called it adulteration of food. Adulteration means adding cheap, hidden stuff to make food look bigger or better. And the biggest target of all was the food everyone ate daily: bread. White bread looked pure and rich, so poorer buyers wanted it badly. To fake that bright white color, bakers reached for a chemical called alum. Alum is a cheap compound that whitened bread and added fake weight. Bakers also mixed in chalk, plaster, and even ground up animal bone. Here, the disgusting genius finally turns truly dark and deadly. For thousands of years, gross food tricks had mostly kept people alive. Rotten garum, buried shark, salted pork, all of it fought deadly spoilage. But Victorian bread was different. This trick existed only to fool the buyer. The alum made bread white, yet it quietly attacked the human gut. It blocked digestion, so the body pulled less nutrition from every meal. For small children, that often meant constant diarrhea and slow starvation. Doctors noticed sick, weak kids in both poor and rich families alike. And bread was only part of a much larger, hidden poisoning problem. In 1877, inspectors tested the milk that families drank daily. 1/4 of that milk had been watered down or mixed with chalk. Strangely, the fake chalky milk was sometimes safer than the real thing. Real city milk often carried typhoid and other diseases from filthy sheds. So people faced a grim choice between fake food and infected food. The public slowly grew angry as chemists revealed what was really inside. Britain passed food safety laws in 1860 and again in 1875. Early laws were weak, but the 1875 version finally had teeth. For the first time, hiding poison in food became a real crime. Look back across these 19 centuries, and one pattern stands out clearly. Almost every gross food trick was really an answer to a deadly threat. Romans fought spoilage with garum. Vikings fought poison by burying their shark. Farmers reshaped carrots, and early cooks turned risky milk into safe cheese. Each method was found by accident, then repeated because it simply worked. These people had no microscopes and no idea that germs even existed. They beat invisible enemies using only patience, salt, smoke, and pure stubbornness. Then Victorian bread flipped the whole story on its head. The same cleverness that saved lives was used to cheat and harm them. That betrayal forced the world to build the first real food safety laws. Every label you read today was paid for by these old, ugly lessons. So the next rotten-smelling cheese on your plate, that is genius.